Throughout the Second World War, inside the confines of the concentration camps, there was a huge amount of torture and execution inflicted upon the prisoners who were imprisoned at camps such as Bergen-Belsen and Auschwitz. Standing cells were found in camps, small oubliette-style dungeon rooms, where prisoners were locked in cramped conditions for a significant period of time, and often the torture inflicted by SS guards led to the deaths of the prisoners. But inside of Auschwitz, there was one brutal guard who became known as the Tiger, who was known for his sadism, and he would meet his own end locked up inside of a prison 30 years after the end of the war. But what this guard developed would go down in history as one of the most barbaric torture methods used inside of the concentration camps. Welcome to the Fortress. Today we look at the Boger Swing as a torture method, and as always, to support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. Wilhelm Boger was a man who joined the Nazi Party early in 1929, and he then became a member of the auxiliary police before he moved to the political police based in Stuttgart. He attended various Nazi police training schools, and he then became a police commissioner, but as the Second World War broke out, he would be transferred to the state police-led office based in Zichenau. He set up and oversaw the creation of border police stations, but he would then find himself transferred to Auschwitz concentration camp. Inside the site, he first worked in the political department, and in this he was a representative of the Reich Security main office, and he was involved in keeping files on different prisoners, and also in keeping security tight within the Auschwitz site. Some other of Wilhelm Boger's responsibilities included the interrogation and torture of those who were suspected of being involved in resistance within Auschwitz, and he got his hands dirty when it came to torturing prisoners. For his crimes that he committed inside of Auschwitz, Wilhelm Boger became infamously known as the Tiger of Auschwitz, and in his role he developed different torture methods to inflict suffering onto the inmates. One of these contraptions was known as the Boger Swing, named after the SS guard who invented it. In this, a prisoner was strapped over a bar, and he was then suspended in the air, and the prisoner would then be battered by other guards until they gave over information regarding resistance inside of Auschwitz. Boger's secretary, after the war, later stated of this torture method that it was a metre-long iron bar, suspended by chains hung from the ceiling. A prisoner would be brought in for questioning, stripped naked and bent over the bar, wrists manacled to ankles. A guard at one side would shove him or her off across the chamber in a long, slow arc, while Boger would ask questions, at first quietly, then barking them out, and at the last bellowing. At each return, another guard, armed with a crowbar, would smash the victim across the buttocks. As the swinging went on, and the wailing victim fainted, they were only revived, only to faint howling again. The blows then continued, until only a mass of bleeding pulp hung before their eyes. Most perished from the ordeal, some sooner, some later. In the end, a sack of bones and flayed flesh and fat was swept along the shambles of that concrete floor to be dragged away. The prisoner could not get away. They were locked in this position for their ordeal. It inflicted terrible injuries, but Wilhelm Boger's crimes inside of Auschwitz continued until the camp was liberated. He was then arrested by the American military police, but he did manage to escape from custody, and he was then found working as a farm worker before he was brought to trial in 1963. He was a defendant in the Frankfurt Auschwitz trials and was charged with aiding and abetting the murder of prisoners. One man who testified about his actions claimed the 5-year-old child, clasping an apple in his hands, had jumped off the truck, filled with other boys and girls, en route to the gas chamber, the witness said. Boger grabbed the crying boy by his feet and hurled him against the nearest wall. Wilhelm Boger was sentenced to life imprisonment with hard labour for being involved in at least 114 cases of murder and accessory to murder in at least 1,000 cases. He did not really admit his crimes during this time, and inside of Auschwitz, the Boger Swing was his torture method that he developed to inflict a huge amount of suffering. This was a horrific ordeal for a prisoner to be subjected to, and it caused death and immense amounts of pain. The Boger Swing was one of the Second World War's most brutal torture methods. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thank you so much for watching.